Welcome, everyone. My word, it is Thursday already. It is, right? Uh, yeah, it is. It is Thursday. Holy macaroni. How did we get here so quickly? Um, what to do when things don't go as planned? I told you, I get these topics from my own life. 90% of the time I do. And so lately, my sourdough has been rebellious. And it says to me, "Girl, I don't even know who you are. Don't touch me. I rise for no one." And I felt a kind of way. And I said, "Oh, my baking has never fallen short, like ever. What is going on?" And so I just happened to be perusing Insta because my whole Instagram is just littered with sourdough everything. And this one woman said last night, she said, "We listen to so many things and so many people when it comes to sourdough, and thereby we get confused and we don't learn to read our dough." And I said to myself, by golly gee, how many books have we read, you know? How many how many things have we quote unquote attempted? How many rituals? How many things have we done because we're trying to accomplish something, but we've not mastered one of them? We just flit from place to place, thing to thing, trying um, to get it. But in actuality, when she said what she said, I hit pause. I paused the video and I said, "Say it again." She said, "Master the art of making sourdough. Just get one recipe and master the art of making it." And it's funny because I went to an interview Monday, and they asked me something. And I said, funny, it's like, no, this was the one on Tuesday. They said to me, "Well, what's your learning style? How do you do things?" And I said, "Well, it's a lot like making bread. There is a core, there's a particular way you do things. And when you get that one way of doing it, which is the core of doing it, then you start to learn who you are and where you can modify things to suit because you've learned the process. It is always in the process that you learn and you practice. And the more you do the process, you begin to see different opportunities within the process where you can, quote unquote, expand, where you can grow, where you can uh, learn from what you've been doing. And so yesterday, when I came home, this all comes back to my sourdough. And yesterday, as I came home, I knew I had overproofed it. And I said, "Oh, damn it." And the only reason why I had overproofed it, because in the winter, which it is right now, we call it spring, but it's still winter, the kitchen is cold. So instead of waiting for the dough to proof itself, it's just slower because it's cold. We try to hasten what we do. We try to speed up what we do. And in speeding up, my father always said, when you rush the brush, you waste the paint. Daddy always says that. And so, because who has 48 hours to wait for bread? I don't, but I should have, because I overproofed it because I put it in the oven. You don't turn on the oven, you just turn the light on. And it doesn't get very hot. It's warm enough. But the problem is, if you don't pay attention to it, it will overproof. See? So, anywho, what do you do when things don't go as planned? I baked it anyway, and it is dense because it's been overproofed, but it is still rather tasty. And I said, oh, and I was so mad and I wanted to throw it out. And something said to me, it didn't go as planned. What did you do? Look, don't throw it out. Look at what you did. You look at what you did. You examine what you did. You don't cry. Trust me, I wanted to. And I wanted to just throw it out. But I said, wait, if I throw it out, I won't learn anything. I'll make the same mistake again if I do not pay attention. And so I looked at it and I said, I overproofed it. I was in a hurry. Because when things are cold, they take longer. Remember, cold slows things down. It just does. When you have warmth, things move faster. This is the way of fire and ice. Fire moves very quickly, well, as we know. And ice, well, it is very, very, very slow. And so what I learned from this experience was you just take your time with it. Just leave it out at room temperature. The dough is, it's not like the dough has brains. It doesn't have brains, but it functions by way of cause and effect. The kitchen may be cooler right now in the winter, but the dough responds to the present temperature, cause, and effect. It responds. When we force things, when we force things, Daddy, remember what Daddy says. When you rush the brush, you waste the paint. I don't even know, but I was talking to my dad a while back, and when he said that to me, he goes, young people always in a hurry, rush the brush, you waste the paint. I said, Daddy, wait, what? Say it again, Daddy. He goes, sweetie, when you rush the brush, you waste the paint. You have to take your time. Sometimes we find ourselves in quote unquote urgent situations. But the situation was not always urgent, It became urgent because we didn't do something when we should have. And because we want it done desperately and we want it done now, we look for the shortcut in which to do it. That's what we do. When in actuality, if, as we are going through a process, you pay attention to what you're doing and you autocorrect as you go, you won't create unnecessary worry, fretting, or desperation. Because you'll be paying attention to what you're doing. You'll be paying attention to what you are doing. And so when I said to her in the interview, if you teach me the right way to do something, I will learn the right way to do it. But then as time goes on and I master your way, I won't deviate from the core, which is the way the process is done, because there is a process. I won't deviate from the process. But as time goes on, I will begin to see who I am and how to do it, do that process, not in an easier way, but in an efficient way, because it just happens naturally. This is what they call when you learn your dough, you learn your kitchen. because you begin to understand the temperature of the kitchen, when the oven is on and when it's not, when you're cooking in the kitchen, when the stove top is on, it's a different kind of heat in the kitchen. And so you begin to recognize the surroundings, and then you work according to the surroundings, but you don't change the core. The core of sourdough is fermentation. And if you change the core, you change the outcome. Sourdough is fermentation. So you can't change the core, or else you don't have sourdough. You understand what I'm saying? So the core of what you do and what you learn, for me, the core is the principles. When you learn the core and you comprehend the core, you can't change cause and effect, but you will learn yourself how to better apply cause and effect. When you learn the core, you will comprehend how to apply the principle of correspondence, as within, so without. You can't change it, because as within, so without is always going to be as it is. Whatever's inside the seed is the fruit it will bear. But what you and I learn along the way as we master the core of the principles, we learn ourselves. We learn ourselves. We learn who and what we are, and we learn how to adapt ourselves. We use the word, we learn how to align. You see, but in order to align efficiently and effectively, you must comprehend the core, or else what happens? We're going to go through and we're going to try and figure it out, change it here, change it there. No, you cannot change the core. The core is what makes life happen. But when we practice becoming deliberate, life is going to happen. Or as we say, life will be lifing. But when you learn the core and master the core, now you modify you. You modify you to get the best out of the core. So when things don't go as planned, we don't toss in the towel. We don't stomp our feet. Oh, even though I did. Oh, I was a pirate yesterday. I cussed like a sailor, let me tell you. But through it all, I heard, just as clear as day, I heard it whispered to me. It's okay. What did you learn from this situation about your process? How did you apply it? How did you apply the process? And so I went through everything that I had done. And I realized I was trying to do it the same way everybody else was doing it. But I can't. My kitchen is not the same as everybody else's. I am not the same as everyone else. Just like you're not the same as everyone else. What makes us the same is that we are living, is that we are aware of our existence. That is the sameness, and that is where it begins and where it ends. So I can't look at Joyce, I can't look at Peter, I can't look at Karen, I can't look at George and say, why doesn't my sourdough look like theirs? I don't live in the same country, the same temperature. I don't have the same space as them. I do not. So what they feel and what they experience is going to be vastly different from mine. The only thing I can take away from all of those people and their sourdough is that what? They fermented. That's all I can take from it, is that they ferment. Fermentation, when you mix that flour and water together and let it sit, it will ferment. That is what you know for fact. The rate at which it ferments simply is based upon, remember, the principle of rhythm. And rhythm always compensates. If the kitchen is warm, depending on the warmth of the kitchen, that is how fast the sourdough will ferment. Because it has to match the warmth of the kitchen. The cooler the kitchen, the slower it ferments according to the temperature that it is in. So, however far you swing to the left is how far you come back to the right. But what we as people want to do, we want something and we want it now. Sourdough is a true test of one's patience. It is, because you have got to let it ferment. You cannot force the fermentation process. You just have to let it do what it's going to do. The vision has its own appointed hour. It has its own appointed hour. And the way it looks and the way it feels will tell you where it is in its process of fermentation. Such is life. So when things don't go as planned, step one is always to stop. Recognize, yikes, I overproofed my dough. I made it too warm and did not. You see, if you're going to speed up something, you now have to become more vigilant. Well, if you turn up the heat on the stove as you're cooking plantain, especially the sweeter the plantain, the faster the sugars burn. You understand? So if you turn up the heat under the plantain and you're going to run around and do other things, you're going to have a mess. That smoke detector is going to go off. That's why you should put batteries in it. Hello. But I digress. When the smoke detector goes off, it's telling you, girl, you done there burnt your plantain. Why? Because you were in a hurry. When we get into a hurry, right? A state of desperation, a state of, I got to get it now. I got to get it now. When we get into that state, we lose our ability to pay attention. Oh, think about it. You turn up the heat on the rice. You think now you've got time. No, you don't. If you're going to turn up the heat on the rice, you are bound to stay at the rice because you turned it up. So you have to stay where you are in order to make sure that it does not burn or it doesn't undercook. So when we get desperate, that thing now demands our full attention because we're trying to force it. This is what desperation does to us. It makes us force things. So when things don't go as planned, you slow your roll, slow down, and look at what you just did. This is not the space for judgment. You don't slow down to go, oh my God, you're so dumb. You don't slow down to do that. You slow down to say, wait, what did I do? And you go through the steps of what you did, and you will see your mistake. And when you see your mistake, what do? You plan your next course of action, which is, okay, look, I was rushing here. Let me slow down here instead. This is this is what is so beautiful about living. Truthfully, this is exactly what is so beautiful about living and existing. Especially when we remove the element of judgment. Because trust me, I could sit here and say, man, I didn't grow up with my mom. I'm missing that woman's touch. My father was there, but he wasn't. He kind of sort of was, but he wasn't. I only had my grandparents. My life totally sucked. I should have had more. I would have been further ahead in life if I'd have had more. See what we do? Oh, if I wasn't abandoned, I'd be further ahead. I've got so much pain to go through. Wait, what? You see what we do to ourselves? And here's the thing. We only do it. One, it hurt, right? Oh God, it hurt. To be abandoned or to be neglected hurts in a way that sometimes you can't even put it into words, but you just know that mm, it hurts. And then when we see someone who got what we didn't get, we are looking at them through our lens of hurt. And then we judge them and we treat them according to the level of our pain. Well, rhythm always compensates. The intensity of your pain will tell you exactly how you're going to treat somebody. Oh, if you pay attention, you'll see it. So you see, the beauty of living is when you observe what you've been through without judgment. Without judgment. Why without judgment? Because when we judge, we blind the eye and we deafen the ear. You will not see or hear. What are you supposed to be seeing? When you look back upon your life and you see what you've gone through, you pay attention, you say, you know what? Okay, I don't like this behavior. I don't like how I acted in this situation. I want to act differently. And as you sit there and you say to yourself, I want to act differently. I don't want to paint every woman with the same brush. All women aren't gold diggers. I don't want to paint all men with the same brush. All men aren't dogs. Every person according to their own merit. That's what you start to do when you pay attention. And you recognize that, oh my God, that's why my relationships are the way they are, because I keep judging a particular person based upon, oh, my level of hurt? Oh no. And when you begin to see what you're doing because you're not judging anymore, you begin to be gracious with yourself, to understand, to comprehend, oh my God, I was doing this from a place of hurt. I was trying to get love from a place of hurt. Well, as within, so without. I'm walking with the pain within. Well, then what kind of relationships am I going to have? Well, as within, so without. You can't get a beautiful relationship when you're walking around holding on to the pain of the past. You're holding and carrying the seed. Well, I ain't never going to put myself in a position to be hurt again. So you become hyper vigilant to hurt. Mm. Thereby, what happens? Well, the sourdough that is your life will either overproof or underproof. Oh, but you want it right in the middle, don't you? To get to the middle, we observe what we are doing without judgment. And as soon as you see what you've done, how do you see what you've done? You look at the way the dough turns out. A light and airy dough will have lots and lots of pockets, like air pockets. They look like holes when you cut the sourdough. It's going to be crisp on the outside, but soft and airy, pillowy on the inside. And you're going to see all of these holes. All of that's air that made it light. It was proofing. So that'll tell you, if you got so many holes, well, then you did a good job. But if it is compact and dense, well, all the air is gone. So, the way to know what you have done in your life is to look at the present experience. Look at the present outcome. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. So, if those bubbles in there, those air pockets in there that all the jam and the butter just fall into, when you spread it in the marmalade, you spread it over that bread, ooh, and they fall into the pockets and the crevices, and you bite into it and you say, "Oh, have mercy." I done outdid myself. When you do that and you see what you have been doing in your life, the experience will tell you the cause. And when you see the cause of what you've done, well, now you know what to do to fix it. If you're rushing, obviously, you learn to take your time. And if you were moving a little slow, you learn how to be a little bit more creative so that you can catch when to move. You see, if we pay attention around us with whatever it is we are doing, we will see the principles. Oh, you'll see them. You will. And you will learn from the simplest of things. William Blake said, when you see the leaf, when you see the blossom, I'm paraphrasing, when you see the leaf, when you see the blossom, when you see the bird, you see the face of God. Mm, indeed. You see the face of God. There is an intelligence, an aware intelligence that runs through the fabric of existence. But because we are in a hurry, what's that country song? I'm in a hurry to get things done. Rushing, rushing, and that's no fun, right? Take your time to observe. And when you observe, you will see where you are in the process. And when you see where you are in the process, well, then you will know the outcome. Well, how would you know the outcome? Well, every cause has its effect. I don't have to tell you what's going to happen if you overproof your dough. You'll know. You'll be able to knock a man out with it because it's hard and dense. You understand? It is simply when things do not go according to plan, stop and observe what you have done. It is not your cue to stomp and to cuss and to hoot and to holler and berate and to say, my mother did this to me, my father did this to me. That is not the time or the place. What are you going to learn from that? Nothing. But if you take the time to observe what you did without judgment, always without judgment, what did you do? What did you do? And when you can recognize what you did, and if you don't know what you did, look at the experience. It'll tell you exactly what you've done. And when you do that, now you know where to correct. Now you know. Now you know where to correct. And when you see where to correct and you begin, because once you see it, what was mine? I truly was in a hurry. I wasn't even excited. I was just in a hurry. I was tired of waiting. I was driven by the taste of warm buttered bread, and I was like, damn it. Why does it have to take so long? And that's what, in essence, I rushed and ended up slowing myself down. So now that I saw what I did, I have to go back. Don't worry, I have more starter in the fridge. We're going to do it again. And we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it again. Hmm. This is why you always go back to the core, the very essence of a thing. In the case of sourdough, it is in the fermentation process. You always go back there, right? Because that's where the incident occurred. Everything went downhill from there. So now you have to take your time and pay attention every step of the way. What am I doing? Am I vigilant here? Am I losing my temper? Am I judging someone? Am I hating my existence? What am I doing? You see, it is how we live our lives. If we take time and we have the experience, we learn from the experience. And when we learn from the experience, now we begin to master that experience. So this morning, when things do not go as planned, just stop. Don't throw it away. Don't throw away the experience. How can you relate that to real life? The S word. Because, YouTube is kind of funny. When people say, I just want to end it all, I can't live anymore. You see that? No, that's not what you do. You're looking at the world through a lens of pain, and you want pain to end. That's what you really want. You want pain to end. So if you want pain to end, you must examine the pain. How will the pain end if you end? You think it ends when you end? It's just that nobody has told us because nobody's come back to tell us. But if you look at the principle of correspondence, the seed of pain, wherever you are, whatever dimension you're in, whatever frequency you're on, that's where you're going. So the key is to examine what you are going through. Don't throw in the towel. It is not at the bottom of a bottle. It is not at the end of a needle either. Because if you pay attention to what's happening, nobody gets up and says, I want to be an addict. Nobody gets up and says that. But what they do get up and acknowledge is, God, I am in pain and I want it to end. That's what they want. And if we stop what we're doing and recognize where the pain is coming from, but better yet, to comprehend, have a deeper understanding, oh my God, this pain wasn't my fault. You know what? And I don't want this anymore. What's the opposite of pain? Relief is the opposite of pain. And a funny thing begins to happen inside of our bodies when we acknowledge just the simple word called relief. When we begin to entertain thoughts of relief, your body releases endorphins. You don't know what an endorphin is? It's a hormone that does what? It's a natural pain reliever. But if you're constantly in the memory and the thoughts of pain, the body cannot produce endorphins because as within, so without. As above, so below. As above in the thoughts, well, the body must show you. So today, when things don't go as planned, take your time to see where you are at. And when you see where you are at, you will understand what you are entertaining mentally. And when you understand, comprehend, which means a deeper understanding, you truly begin to know, wait a minute, I am entertaining This for real? Well, no wonder it's been the shits. And then you begin to say to yourself, well, what do I want to entertain instead? And you begin to start entertaining other things, better things. And as you start to entertain better things, the body will feel better. Your mood will change because it has to. What you entertain is what you will feel. As within, oh God, so without. So if you comprehend that as the core, you, as you go through the day, you will understand why you are feeling the way that you're feeling, and you will change on the fly because you know how to. You will recognize, oh God, I'm in a mood. I don't want to be in that mood. What mood do I want to be in? Ooh, this one. And you start to put yourself in a different mood. And the mood that you put yourself in, habitually, yeah. You see, the funny thing with scientists, they tell you that you can form a habit in 21 days. But here's the thing. Is it 21 consecutive days? Or is it just 21 days in general? Well, you have to do it. You have to deliberately do the thing. And that's why habits are so easy to form. Oh, you didn't know they were easy? We just look at habits from one end. We think, God, they're so hard to break. No, habits are easy to form. All you do is get up and do the same thing the same way every time. And you will have to continually do the same thing the same way every time. Listen, there's nothing easier than that. So this is why when you do what you do, then you begin to comprehend, if I continually do this thing, I'm going to create a habit of it. Do I want this as a habit? So if you get up and you catch yourself ruminating on the past and the pain of the past, you better stop and ask yourself, do I want this as my habit of living? You see what happens when you go back to the core principles? You begin to comprehend what you're doing. And when you comprehend what you're doing, well, then you won't panic or freak out when things don't go as planned. You will notice, oh, snap, I was distracted. I took my eye. Distracted, you put your focus somewhere else. So, today, my beautiful friends, when things don't go as planned, stop and look at your behavior. What did I do? What mindset caused me to do it this way? And when you see the mindset that caused you, because it'll either be desperation, you in a hurry, you're scared, when you see why you did it, you don't have to go back and analyze and dig it up. No, you don't. You just have to pay attention to the present experience, which will show you the cause. And the cause will always be which one? Your mental mood, your mental attitude. What did you have going on in your mind? And when you see that, well then, you'll know what to change, won't you? Are you going to change the experience? No, you'll know you can't change the experience. You have to change the mindset, and then the experience will change to match. Why? Because as within, so without. Let us take a moment to welcome everyone who is here with us, kicking it with us this Thursday. Saps, I see you, baby, here in the Twitter sphere. Hey, YouTube, ray of sunshine. Hey, girl. I see you here on these YouTube streets. You made yourself known by saying hey. But for the others who have not made themselves known, hey, y'all, I see you. I see you. Who's here on fan base? Ray Ray. Hey, Princess. Flo Smiles, Oracle Treehouse, and Surreal. Hello. I see you all. Listen, thank you for being here this glorious day, this Thursday, and for allowing me to share from the chronicles of my sourdough life. Because that's what my sourdough flop showed me yesterday. Mm, showed me my impatience. My sourdough flop showed me, you rushing. You in a hurry. Oh, you think you can rush me? No, girl. I'm going to show you what happens when you rush. That's what my sourdough whipped me yesterday. Whew. But that's all right. She still tastes good. I'll tell you that much. She still tastes good. But I'm not just going for the taste. I'm going for the whole experience. I don't want that smoothness. No, I want the pockets. I want the pockets so that when I put the marmalade in, or when I put the jam or the butter, it falls into the pockets, and when you bite into it, it runs down your chin. Oh, that is what will make me take my time, because that is the experience I want to have when I bake my sourdough. That is the experience. Oh, yes. So now you know your girl is gonna take her time. Oh, indeed. Rush. Mm-mm. We gonna take our time. So let that be an inspiration to you to take your time in whichever process you are presently in. Let me get the chime, because it sounds like you might get chicken today. He's stirring. I can hear him. He was a little restless. You know, these young ones, he was a little restless. He may crow. I don't know. But I know you'll get the chime. He may tune in. I don't know. Let me get the chime. Hey, baby. How you doing? Mm. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Base. Thank you all for being here on this glorious Thursday. I do appreciate your time. I do. And I appreciate you. So thank you all for being here. And I trust that you now know what to do when things don't go as planned. We examine, look at the effect, and you will see the cause. Change the cause, and the effect will change. So you see, we always have the ability to have more beauty in our lives. I will see you on Friday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know I will. Hey. Anywho, thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Much love to each and every one of you. Fan base, hold on. You know we always end the morning off with us. You know we hang out for a little bit extra. Peace out, y'all. Yes, I'm going to go download and upload to Spotify. So if you use Spotify and you want to catch it, or you use Apple podcast, you know where you can find me, right? Just Positively Angela. Peace.